Well, as we saw over the weekend, it's possible for these types of police chases to lead to catastrophic injury, even death. But under Michigan law, there are certain legal protections when it comes to those pursuits.
Let's continue our team coverage now with Fox 17's Cassandra Arsenal. She spoke to a local attorney about this part of the story. Cassie.
Janice Christian, under Michigan law, police officers are immune when they're going through the stop signs and over the speed limit to chase a suspect, because if they couldn't break those rules, well, they couldn't chase anyone down. But some have asked, if the pursuit becomes reckless and innocent bystanders are hurt or die, whose fault is it? Well, a lawyer we talked to today says the answer is simple under Michigan law. The blame lies with the person who refused to pull over.
Two young people lost their lives on Saturday, 21-year-old Tara Oscom and 15-year-old David Torres, who was in the suspect's vehicle. It's a crash some say could have easily been avoided.
Sometimes people ask the question, well, was this particular chase necessary?
Others are asking whose fault. Tom Sinas, a personal injury and auto accident attorney, lays it all out.
The general answer is that Michigan law gives a lot of deference to law enforcement.
Under Michigan law, police officers have something called governmental immunity.
Governmental immunity basically means that governmental officers, including police officers, are generally immune from lawsuits brought by other people unless you can prove some particular exception to the immunity.
Sinas said for someone to bring a lawsuit against an officer for a police chase, well, it almost never happens. In fact, he's never even had a case like that. Here's why.
The Michigan Supreme Court held about 17 years ago that if an individual is injured because a fleeing suspect hits them, then the individual doesn't have a claim against the police officer, because the court held that the cause of that person's injury wasn't the police, it was the fleeing motorist.
It's not only illegal to drive away from a police officer, it's a felony. Secretary of State records show Torres, who turned 17 in less than 2 weeks, did not have a valid driver's license and had been stopped 3 times before Saturday's incident, during which he was found to be driving without a license. The 3 stops occurred in May, June, and August of 2016. Torres also had a juvenile criminal record for carrying concealed brass knuckles and a knife, and he stole a car and jewelry.
It's much easier, of course, to view these kind of circumstances in hindsight when you know there's been something terribly tragic that happened.
But Sinas said the bottom line is the law sits with the police.
Now, this is not saying police can never be in the wrong, but you would have to be able to prove they were purposely being reckless and they could have made a different decision. But as state police said today, they have a set of criteria that needs to be checked off when making the decision to chase a suspect. We just heard that from Doug Reardon. All of 7 which were checked off that night. As for Alex Torres, he's still in the hospital. It's still unclear what charges he may face in this case. In the studio, Cassandra Arsenal, Fox 17 News.
All right, Kat.